If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to MINDSHOCK. We have another pro wrestling conspiracy today. This one supposedly did not end in murder. That is, of course, the age-old, going back to early 2000s or possibly earlier, internet conspiracy theory that Macho Man Randy Savage was somehow romantically involved with Stephanie McMahon, the daughter of Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWF, now called the WWE. But old-time fans pretty much still call it the WWF. Much to the chagrin of lawyers or whatever. But anyway, this topic was requested, so we will be taking a look at it in typical MINDSHOCK fashion with logic and reason at the forefront. As always, if you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications. You could also become a YouTube member right here for exclusive streams and chats. Help support the channel that way. Like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcast requests. You could also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. So some people are saying, no doubt in the comment section already, that this is a complete abuse of MINDSHOCK to use logic and reason to dissect this early internet rumor. But here's the thing. If you're promoting logic and reason, the beautiful thing about it, the most useful thing about it, is you can literally apply it to any topic ever and examine it for logical veracity. So that's what we'll be doing. And if you're a pro wrestling fan, I guess that's a plus. All right. So let's go through the history here. So 3 years ago, on the Squared Circle subreddit, a popular pro wrestling subreddit, there's an interesting write-up with some history on this so-called rumor/conspiracy. Macho Man Randy Savage and Stephanie McMahon affair, rumor or fact, question mark. A famous urban legend in the world of pro wrestling is a sexual relationship between wrestler Randy Savage and his boss Vince McMahon's daughter, Stephanie McMahon. Randy was a huge star in the 80s and one of the best in-ring performers of all time. By the 90s, his career in WWE was declining and he transitioned to a commentary role. According to many WWE officials, as well as wrestlers like Hardcore Holly, in 93, whenever he was backstage, him and Stephanie McMahon were always friendly together in a flirtatious sort of way. Holly said he would leave it at that, meaning that he did not want to say any more so as to not get in trouble with the WWE. Early 93 is when the affair was rumored to have started. Stephanie McMahon was 16 years old in 93, and she was a huge fan of Macho Man's work. She also had a thing for muscular old men at the time. Where does that come from? So this user, 2000 Slapping Hands, posted this. Where does that come from that Steph had a thing for muscular older men? I mean, like, how much older? I guess, older can mean anything, so, I don't know, but whatever. Randy, on the other hand, apparently had trouble with women, according to Hulk Hogan and Scott Hall, despite the fact that he had a marriage with Miss Elizabeth in the past. Hogan said that Randy was shy around women, and Hall recalls Randy saying, quote, "It's not fair that Hall and Nash get all the pussy," end quote. One of Randy's past girlfriends, Stephanie Bellars, also stated that he liked younger girls, as when they were dating, Randy wanted a threesome with her and her sister, who was 17 years old at the time. Bellars was 23 at the time, while Macho Man was 44, further supporting he likes younger women. From early 93 to late 94, Randy Savage and Steph McMahon slept with each other behind Vince's back, meaning that Stephanie was 16 when the affair started and 18 when the affair ended. Randy was 40 when the affair started and 42 when it ended. That's a 25-year age difference, and Randy was only 7 years younger than Stephanie's dad. When Randy left the WWE for the WCW at the end of 94, it was thought to be because of the fact that Vince wouldn't let him wrestle full-time. However, the past 2 decades, It has been speculated that Randy jumped ship to WCW because Vince might have been catching on to the affair, as higher ups in the company already knew about how friendly Stephanie and Randy were with one another. So when Randy left for WCW, the affair came to an abrupt end. In 2000, Randy teased a return to the WWE. Insiders were shocked at Vince's adamant refusal to take him back, with Vince warning his staff to never mention Randy's name in his presence. This would lead to fans and insiders wondering what Vince's motivation was for his harsh stance on Randy. The mystery of Vince's malice only grew as the years passed. By 2001, several former WWE and WCW stars had returned to WWE following WCW's demise, but not Randy Savage, leading to people to wonder what was going on. In an interview in 2001, when asked about Randy, Vince stated, quote, "I do not wish to do business with that man," end quote. Randy never returned to the WWE when he was alive and was not inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame until years after his death. Hulk Hogan was the franchise player of the WWE in the 80s, and there was no bigger star than him. When he left for WCW in the early 90s and formed NWO, WCW began beating WWE in the ratings. WWE almost went out of business. Vince McMahon stated numerous times that he would never do business with Hogan again. Yet, Hogan returned to WWE in 2000 and several times after that. He joined TNA, I mean, what a great name for a promotion, right? A wrestling promotion, and tried to get them. TNA stands for what? Total Nonstop Action? Is that the wrestling company? And tried to get them to compete with the WWE, and he was allowed back. He was exposed for a racist rant and was still allowed back years later. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, who were the top stars in the WWE and left for the WCW and formed the NWO, were also allowed back in 2002. Vince also brought back Bret Hart, a guy who spat in his face and punched him. All sorts of rumors were spread about why Vince, who brought back men who had sued him and tried to bury the company, was adamant about never doing business with Randy. When asked about Randy Savage in an interview, Triple H called him great but a dinosaur. Randy took offense to that and promised to slap Triple H around, and also said to Triple H, "When you blink, I'm going to steal your girlfriend. How's that? I'm going to take your babe. I'm going to take Stephanie McMahon and take her for a ride around the block, and I might give her back, but I may not." End quote. Wait, what? I actually have, obviously I've heard of this rumor before, but I actually did not, I've never heard this quote before. Let's see if it's real. So, quick fact check here. So, there's a book by James Dixon, Jim Cornette, and Benjamin Richardson, Titan Sinking, The Decline of the WWF in 1995. And wow, he actually said this? Wait, he said this on video. Wait, what? Apparently this was a video filmed exclusively for members of his website. Randy Savage ranted, "Here's the deal, Triple H, I'm talking to you. Call me a dinosaur in this business, dude." So this is a few years after 2001, 2002. There's no actual date here, but... Well, I found that pretty disrespectful. When you duck, when you blink, I'm going to steal your girlfriend. How's that? I'm going to take your babe. I'm going to take Stephanie McMahon and take her for a ride around the block, and I might give her back, but I may not. You understand that, Triple H? I'm going to do what I want to do because you're a punk. I might be a dinosaur, but the dinosaur is calling you a punk. This dinosaur is going to steal your... I mean, he's still going with this. This dinosaur is going to steal your girlfriend. I'm telling you, I'm not going to do it behind your back. I'm going to do it right in front of you. I'm going to take Stephanie McMahon, take her around the block, and I'm going to show her what a real man is. The Macho Man, yeah. Stephanie McMahon, get ready for the kid. End quote. What the heck? Wait, what?
Alright, here's the deal, Triple H. I'm talking to you. Call me a dinosaur in this business, dude. Well, I thought that was very disrespectful. And I, in turn, am telling you that I thought you were pretty good there for a while. And I am thinking that your brand value in 5 years, if you're not on TV every week, is going to come down a little bit. And I don't think that you're going to be as strong as you think that you are. And even though you think that I'm a dinosaur, dude, I'm on you right now from MachoMan.com. And I say you're going to be ducking here real soon, because when you duck, when you blink, I'm going to steal your girlfriend. How's that? I'm going to take your babe. I'm going to take Stephanie McMahon and take her a ride around the block. And I might give her back, but I may not. You understand that, Triple H? I'll do what I want to do because you're a punk. I might be a dinosaur, but the dinosaur is calling you a punk. Alright, here's the deal. Macho Man on MachoMan.com. Go all over the World Wide Web. We've got a beat on you guys. Yeah, we do. Triple H, you and Hulk Hogan have lit a fire under the Macho Man Randy Savage. And I'm thinking that I work hard and I play hard. So all the beautiful babes out there, you gotta watch out and join the contest with MachoMan.com. Because you can get a little touchy-feely and show a little skin, and you might win. You never know. And you, Triple H, you call me a dinosaur, dude? You call that a dinosaur? Well, guess what? This dinosaur is gonna steal your girlfriend. And I'm telling you about it. I'm not gonna do it behind your back. I'm gonna do it right in front of you. I'm gonna take Stephanie McMahon, and I'm gonna take her around the block, and I'm gonna show her what a real man is. The Macho Man, yeah. Because you, Triple H, are a punk. And on MachoMan.com, we don't like punks. We don't cotton the punks. We're a men, and we work hard and we play hard. And Stephanie McMahon, get ready for the kid.
This is kind of bizarre, because if this rumor is true, why would Randy say this? If it's not, I mean, whether it's true or not, I mean, can you imagine saying that on video if you're even planning to return? Well, I mean, or I guess even if you're not, but I mean, the McMahon's relatively powerful. I mean, that's kind of weird. So in this book here, after this quote, it says, too many already in the know, and to those who suspected it, that was proof enough that something had happened previously between Randy and Stephanie. While Savage didn't say anything that hinted towards a past relationship, the few who knew him well realized that he wouldn't have mentioned Stephanie's name without a motive. Try watching that video with fresh eyes for the first time, and through the eyes of Vince, Stephanie, and Hunter, suggested Lanny cryptically. So we're actually going to go over some of this in a little bit first. Let's just finish the story here. But, I mean, that's kind of damning in a certain way. Because, I mean, you know, we need some controls here. All the hardcore wrestling fans, how many other wrestlers have made similar statements either while they were with the WWF or E, whatever, or after the fact about Stephanie? I mean, I don't know. Is that a thing to do? I mean, how many people actually said something like this about Stephanie, even people who had heat or whatever with Triple H? So continuing this post here, Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer newsletter said that he did not believe the rumor was true at first, but after talking with several higher-ups in the company, he believed the rumor to be true. A lot of people put stock in Dave Meltzer. I mean, I don't know. A lot of the higher-ups were people who still work there, and some were people who did not work there anymore. The great majority of them confirmed the rumors to him, and that he stands by his belief that the affair actually happened. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this happened? I personally believe it to be true, even though there's no physical proof. There's just way too much circumstantial evidence supporting the rumor. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, here's a true mind shock here. I mean, one, everybody always double checks this because nobody's going to believe this is true. Stephanie McMahon is an anagram for the Macho Man penis. Now, before we, what are the chances that a conspiracy, affair, whatever, one person's name is actually going to be an anagram for the other person's member, so to speak, that would be involved in a sexual affair? Statistically, what are the chances? I mean, that is kind of insane. And it's not like these are short names and short anagrams for generic everyday words. because a lot of these are a stretch in some of these conspiracies. I mean, this is awfully specific, and with just, I mean, I don't know, man. That's kind of weird. Here's an interesting counterpost here by The Edge. I don't believe this rumor. I forget who mentioned it first, but the most viable reason I heard Vince didn't want Savage back is because unlike Vince and Hogan, Vince and Randy were actually friends. Like very close friends, and Savage jumped to WCW without telling Vince. It really hurt him and killed their friendship, which killed any chance Macho had to return to the WWE. I mean, that's an interesting theory as well. Another poster, MR98, posted, I always thought it was total BS until I heard Meltzer and Alvarez talk about it. The way they talk about it makes it clear that it's not just something that was made up online. Still might not be true, but I wouldn't be as quick to dismiss it as some people are. So let's look at this video linked here.
Hey, this is William from Fargo. How you guys doing?
William, what's going on?
Hey, got a quick question for you, and I don't even know if you guys will comment on this, but there's a long-time internet story going around, and can you guys comment on, after doing business with everybody else, Vince McMahon never did business until the Hall of Fame with Randy Savage, and the reason for that?
Till the Hall of Fame?
He still hasn't done business.
Okay. And any reason for that?
I think that the reason is the same reason that everyone says.
Okay.
It's the only reason.
Okay.
It's the reason that everyone in the company says. It's the reason that is the only one that makes any sense. So I think that's the reason.
All right. Very
can't come up
good.
with any other reason.
All right, thanks, guys.
That's the best we can say about that one. Thanks very much for the call.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard that reason from so many people that are not internet rumor mongers. I mean, people who, all I know is that within the company, as far as the top people, they all believe it, and nobody knows for sure because it's never brought up.
You see, I wonder about this because, we've been asked this question for years now.
Yeah.
And it's been the same story for years that, something involving Randy Savage and Stephanie when she was younger and this and that. And, when we first heard this story...
When I first heard the story, I didn't believe it because I just thought it was some story. But then, and I mean, even when people who are very high up in that company, after they left the company, would tell me that story, I still didn't believe it. But, after a certain number of years, when it's just, ideas are brought up for Randy Savage and the reaction, there's something real bad. Because let's face it, I mean, I couldn't count the number of times Vince said he would never do business with Hulk Hogan, and he always does.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But again, all we're saying is that is what everyone is saying. We obviously have no idea. But it is interesting that it's almost like as time goes by, more people talk about it as if it's what actually happened. And I sometimes...
as time goes by, more people talk about it trying to say that it didn't happen. You should ask Oliver, because Oliver knows.
Knows the story, or?
No, Oliver knows.
Oh, well, I'll talk to Oliver then.
Yeah, Oliver knows.
All right, well...
Now I got Oliver in trouble.
Now...
Interesting. So what's weird, though, is they didn't completely shut it down. But I don't know. I mean, obviously, that's not proof in any way either. All right, here's a clip of Bruce Pritchard, supposedly in the know about a lot of things pro wrestling. This is on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard podcast. Here's him discussing it.
Do you have any idea what Macho Man was making before he left? Ballpark?
Probably close to $500,000.
So pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, especially considering, you're doing commentary.
Plus, he also
and
had
stuff.
the Slim Jim commercial, too. So they were paying him good, too.
I was going to say that had to be pretty decent money. Listen, we can't talk about him leaving without talking about the thing that everybody wants to talk about.
What's that?
Stephanie McMahon.
What about it?
Well, address the rumor. Was it ever addressed in the inner circle, behind the scenes? Was there? I'm sure there was discussion. When did you first hear about it? Who told you? Where do you weigh in on it? True or not true?
Well, this rampant rumor everyone has talked about, it's funny. I didn't even hear this rampant rumor until probably 2006, maybe 2007. And I heard it from a writer on the writers' team.
Who wasn't there back then? Who'd you hear from?
Little Jewish kid.
Okay, roll tide. So, you kind of dodged. Do you believe it or no?
Do I believe what?
Do you believe that Randy Savage had sex with Stephanie McMahon, perhaps at underage, and Vince found out about it, and that's the reason he was seemingly whitewashed from ever being discussed or involved in any WWE programming for years to come?
I don't. I really don't. I think I would have heard something about it being right there. If they did and hid it, man, kudos to them for being able to hide it for all those years. But like I said, I didn't hear that until 10 years after Randy was gone, at least.
Given the fact that they welcomed everyone back. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Mick Foley after he trashed him, Stone Cold after some rough patches, Bret Hart after he trashed him, The Warrior, Hogan, on down the Piper.
So there's a chance for me still?
Probably not.
Okay. Nah.
Especially not after this podcast. What do you think it was that kept Randy alienated for so long?
I don't know. I really and truly don't know. I don't know if it was simply Randy leaving at a time when Vince... there were a couple guys Vince thought would never leave, and Randy was one of them. Shawn was one of them.
Hogan was one of them.
Hogan was one of them.
And Hogan left and came back.
Yeah, but I don't know if if Hogan was one of those that they looked at and said, he'll never leave. It was more like he'll be back. You know what I mean?
Right.
Randy, I think, was viewed, he'll never leave.
All right, what does everybody make of that? I mean, his whole answer on everything is basically, I don't know. Is he lying? Is he deflecting? Did he just simply do too much drugs? Who knows? Let's move on to Disco Inferno, the one and only Disco Inferno, and his thoughts.
Next is from King Walsh. Subject is Macho Man and Steph sitting in a tree. Guys, there's no way on earth neither of you have heard the rumors about Macho and Steph. I hope it's not true because that would be Macho banged an underage girl, but surely you guys have some type of locker room talk about what you heard. Please spill the tea. Well, I didn't hear anything. Did I hear anything?
Court Bauer brought that up once very early on our MLW show. I'd have to go back and find that.
Well, she was underage when you first got with her?
No,
I guess so. I don't know what was it.
People
Joe?
mix.
You listen to the show.
People mix the story up where they say, "Well, Macho banged her, and that's why he left, and she would have been underage." But when you look at the date, she would have been 19. Not that that's I mean, actually, that is.
Well, let me
legal,
explain something to people.
But I don't think it happened just because they eventually put Macho in the Hall of Fame. And but they did say for years, and Court said on the show, Conan, that you couldn't even bring up his name for a long time. And later on, it came out, at least according to Lanny Poffo and stuff, that Vince had major heat with him because he took Slim Jim away from WWE and brought it to WCW.
Yeah. I know nothing about that. I've never heard that story. I will say this though, that you got to understand that even back then, that probably wouldn't have been frowned on that much if the mother of the girl would have if Liz's mother would have said it's okay.
Steph.
What are you talking? Are you talking about Stephanie?
Stephanie McMahon, yeah.
I thought they were talking about Liz.
No.
Oh, Macho Man and Steph's industry. Oh, about Stephanie?
Yeah.
No, I've heard the rumor about that, but I've never it's never been confirmed by anybody I know.
No.
Yeah.
And you know what Scott Hall said? And I don't know, maybe you guys saw the same kind of things. Scott Hall in a shoot interview said he couldn't see it because when he was out and he would see Macho out, it seemed like he was kind of awkward. Like he didn't have game. He didn't know how to step to girls.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah, he was very awkward.
He was awkward
Super
with
awkward
women.
with zero game.
Wow.
Bro,
Yeah.
he used to stand. This is a shoot what I'm about to tell you. He used to stand in the hotel bar with his gear on, and so was Hogan. In their gear, dude.
Jeez.
How whack is that?
Especially as crazy as their gear was at one point. All the red and yellow and orange and shit.
If they weren't wearing the whole gear, they were wearing half of the gear. And it was like, bro, what are you doing? You're wearing your gimmick in the bar?
Ugh.
Next, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Now, would that lead more credence or less credence to this possible theory? WrestleMania actually put out an interesting video that kind of summarizes all this, so let's take a look at it.
lot of people out there, they're getting into Macho Madness really super strong. And Macho Madness, yeah, growing, and more seductive than sex.
His name has never been uttered again out of Vince McMahon's mouth. If that's true, maybe that's why he never went back there.
Wrestling is full of shadowy tales, rumors, and whispers about some crazy stories that fans have heard about, but perhaps never had a chance to hear all the details. But join us now as WrestleMania looks at one of wrestling's biggest unsolved mysteries and urban legends, the Randy Savage and Stephanie McMahon romance. Did they or didn't they? It's a story that continues to get more and more attention every year without any definite proof, which only seems to add to the controversy. Did Macho Man Randy Savage have an affair with Stephanie McMahon? An affair that kept him from ever returning to the WWE? As we'll see, it's a mystery heavy on hearsay and circumstantial evidence, but nothing conclusive. Although Randy Savage was a key figure in the WWF's rise to success in the 80s, by the 90s, Vince McMahon saw him as an aging star whose best days were far behind him. McMahon made the decision to put Savage as a color commentator, despite Savage's request to wrestle full-time. When Savage asked to work a program with Shawn Michaels and help get the young star over, McMahon turned him down flat. But by 1994, Savage had had enough. When his contract expired, he jumped ship to WCW, where he resolved to prove he had lots left to contribute to the business. McMahon had been stung by Hulk Hogan's departure for WCW, so when the Macho Man gave McMahon his word he wouldn't leave for WCW, it must have hurt Vinnie Mac even more when Savage bailed with no notice. Behind the scenes, some believe Savage held a grudge against McMahon, not only for grounding him, but for snubbing Randy's dad, Angelo Poffo, when Poffo asked Randy to help him get into a Legends Battle Royal years before. Savage asked for what he saw as a small favor, only to be turned down. According to the book Titan Sinking, Savage was fiercely loyal to his family, and it devastated him that he was not able to give his father that final swan song with his contemporaries. He mused that he was one of the biggest stars in the company, and yet Vince couldn't even do him one small favor on a throwaway house show. From now on, it's just business. He told his bemused brother, "Fuck the WWF." When Savage left the promotion, Vince McMahon announced on Raw, at this time, obviously conspicuous by his absence, is the Macho Man Randy Savage, and I'd like to announce that Randy Savage has been unable to sign a contract with the World Wrestling Federation, not unable to, rather to come to terms with the World Wrestling Federation for a new contract. But Randy, I know you're out there listening, and on behalf of all of us here at the World Wrestling Federation, all of your fans, and certainly me, the #1 fan, I'd like to say thank you for all your positive contributions to the World Wrestling Federation. Thank you, Randy Savage, for all the wonderful memories for so many years here in the World Wrestling Federation.
Wish you nothing but the best. Godspeed, and good luck.
Vince was disappointed that Savage bailed on him, but he apparently grew angry when he learned Savage had talked to Slim Jim into taking their sponsorship deal from WWF to WCW. McMahon reportedly lost millions when Slim Jim jumped with the Macho Man, as it was a time when the WWF was hard-pressed for cash. Regardless, business is business, so when Savage teased he might be interested in returning to the WWF around 96, insiders were shocked at Vince's adamant refusal to take him back, or the WWF kingpin warning his staff never to mention Savage's name in his presence. The story would lead to fans and insiders wondering what McMahon's motivation was for his harsh stance on Savage. The mystery of McMahon's malice only grew as the years passed. By 2001, a slew of former WWE and WCW stars had returned to the WWE following WCW's demise, but not Randy Savage, leading to people to wonder what was going on. By 2004, something specific began to be discussed. A story, if true, would explain Vince's vendetta against Savage. WrestlingNews.co's Corey Jacobs has written an excellent timeline of the story, chronicling when it first showed up online. According to Jacobs, the Savage McMahon rumor started in 2004 in the Death Valley driver message board, and Jacobs details how. The Savage McMahon rumor started on September 16, 2004, when posted user G. Gordon Liddy wrote, McMahon had his way with Stephanie. She was about 14 then, back in 94/95, and that Vince found out, and that was the true ending for Macho Man in WWF. The user never provided facts to back up the rumor, and he was wrong about her age. She turned 18, not 14 in September 94. The thread has been deleted, but has now been archived at this link, so you can now see for yourself when the rumor got started. The link will be posted in the description below. But like many rumors, there are many gaps in logic and outright wrong information. One of the biggest being the constant claim that Stephanie was 14 when the alleged relationship began. Stephanie would have been 17 or 18 when this happened, but even so, James Dixon notes in Titan Sinking that the age of consent in Connecticut at the time was 16, so there was nothing illegal had anything happened. Again, legally speaking, any alleged affair would not have been underage, as it's often been described, but the age difference has raised eyebrows and could have made McMahon livid. The story has picked up steam over the years, with fans noting Savage never returned to the WWE while he was alive, and noting Savage did not go into the WWE Hall of Fame until years after his death. Let's hear what some of the Macho Man's colleagues had to say about the situation. In his memoir, The Hardcore Truth, Bob Holly writes, Vince is a businessman first and foremost, so even when someone screws him over, if he feels he can make money with them, he'll put the differences aside and work with them, but he never worked with Randy again. There have been rumors going around for years involving Vince's daughter, Stephanie, and Randy. I won't say anything other than Randy was pretty friendly with her. In the book Titan Sinking, James Dixon notes, Savage's ex-girlfriend Stephanie Bellas, who previously performed in WCW alongside him as Gorgeous George, added credence to the story when recounting the reason the pair broke up. He wanted to have a three-way with me and my sister, she recalled. He wanted us all three to live in a house together. My sister was only 17 years old at the time. Bellas herself was only 23 when they started dating. Savage, it seemed, had a predilection for younger women. What of Savage's brother Lani Poffo? Poffo has denied anything happened between Savage and Stephanie, but during an episode of his podcast, The Genius Cast, he said, I have absolutely no idea if the urban legend is true. Like I said, if it were true, I wouldn't tell you because it's nobody else's business. There is only one other person who knows for sure, and that is Stephanie McMahon. Randy is not here and she is not talking, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt and just talk about something else. Dave Meltzer discussed McMahon's refusal to bring the Macho Man back in WWE. When Randy Savage passed away in 2011, Meltzer wrote, During the Monday Night Wars period, McMahon often said he would welcome Savage back, but would never welcome Hogan back. Savage, along with Sting and Ric Flair and later Bill Goldberg, were consistently the biggest ratings movers for WCW during the Monday Night Wars, with Savage averaging moving quarter-hour ratings from 0.3 to 0.4 points per appearance. McMahon for the past decade had refused to listen to any ideas regarding bringing Savage back, even for guest appearance roles that didn't even require him wrestling, even though a short-term Savage return would have had strong nostalgia value. This certainly matches other stories of Vince's refusal to bring Savage back to the company, but no answer has ever been addressed. All sorts of rumors spread about why McMahon, who brought back men who had sued him and tried to bury the company, was adamant about never doing business with Savage. Looking at this situation, we have a talented wrestler and a proven draw who some claim Vince McMahon refused to bring back. As many people have noted throughout the years, Vince McMahon not only brought back people who have allegedly held him up for money, but brought back Bret the Hitman Hart, an individual who not only spit in Vince's face, but punched him. Fans keep coming back to the question, what could Savage have done that was so bad that McMahon refused to bring him back? The Stephanie McMahon answer seems so plausible that it's become accepted as gospel by some. Despite the hearsay and circumstantial evidence, an argument can be made that there are other reasons for why Savage never returned to WWE, reasons that poke major holes in this urban legend. Bruce Pritchard, who worked closely with Vince McMahon as an executive in the 90s and early 2000s, said Savage came close to returning to the WWF in 96. It's true, Randy and I talked and we had gone back and forth on a contract, and then it all fell apart. I think we were far apart on money and dates. At that time, Vince wasn't big on limited number of dates for talent. You are either under contract or you're not, and Randy wanted so many dates, so it just got crossways at some point, and I'm the one who had to deliver the message. This is sadly plausible. This wasn't the only time Savage had dealings with the WWE. A review of the early 2000s reveals Savage had some contact with the promotion. In fact, according to more than one source, it was discovered that Savage praised WWE and Vince McMahon during interviews in 2000, 2001, and 2003. Randy Savage was interviewed by WWE Magazine in 2003 to discuss the passing of Miss Elizabeth and promote his rap album. It's unlikely there was much heat between Savage and WWE at that point in 2003. Unfortunately, things went south after some comments from Triple H. Lanny Poffo recalled, Triple H had done an interview with a magazine and they said, "What do you think of Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man?" He said they are great, but they are dinosaurs. Eventually, Hulk Hogan didn't mind being called a dinosaur, but Randy Savage took big exception to it. In typical fashion, the Macho Man went off on Triple H online via his members-only podcast, promising to slap Triple H around and steal his girlfriend Stephanie.
When you blink, I'm gonna steal your girlfriend. How's that? I'm gonna take your babe. I'm gonna take Stephanie McMahon and take her a ride around the block. And I might give her back, but I may not.
Some see the podcast as Savage being Savage, but it apparently angered Triple H, Stephanie, and possibly Vince to the point where Savage became persona non grata for some time. This alone could explain Savage's absence from the WWE. As for the Hall of Fame ban, consider what Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso wrote in 2015. McMahon actually reached out to Savage in 2010, but neither man had been willing to bend. McMahon wanted to induct only the Macho Man into the Hall of Fame, while Savage refused to go in without his father and his brother. Fans have yet to hear anything from Stephanie McMahon. At one point, the Billion Dollar Princess was reportedly writing a memoir, but that has yet to materialize. The subject has never been addressed in public. Did something happen between Stephanie McMahon and Randy Savage? If so, was this enough to keep McMahon and Savage apart? If so, why did the McMahon family relent and have Savage inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame? Has time healed whatever wounds existed, or was it a case of nothing happening between Stephanie and Randy, except in the overactive minds of some wrestling fans?
So what does everybody make of that? Believe it or not, there's even more to the Stephanie Bellard Gorgeous George claims. And this was on the Hannibal podcast. This is written up. WrestlingNews.co has a write-up here. Randy Savage's ex-girlfriend says he told her what happened with Stephanie McMahon. This was written by Paul Davis, May 2nd, 2020. Stephanie Bellars, who fans might remember from her days as Gorgeous George in WCW, says Macho Man Randy Savage talked to her about Stephanie McMahon. Bellars was Savage's girlfriend in the late 2000s during the final years of WCW. The clip of Bellar's revelation was uploaded this week on Hannibal TV, Devin Nicholson YouTube channel, and it's from a longer interview that is also on the channel. In the clip below, she claims that Lanny Poffo, this is Randy's brother, was never around when Randy was alive, and she recalled when Lanny was under contract to WCW, he had a multi-year deal with them despite never being called to wrestle at a show. She said that Lanny was supposed to be ready to wrestle, but he was always out of shape, and Randy would get upset at him for not going to the gym. Nicholson says he was told off the record by Lanny what the true story was between Randy and Stephanie McMahon. For those of you that are unaware, the rumors have persisted for years within wrestling that our Savage and McMahon got together when she was 17 years old, and Vince did not find out until several years later, and that is why he was so mad at Randy and did not induct him into the WWE Hall of Fame until after he died. Bellars said Savage told her about Stephanie. She said, quote, he told me one day when we were on ecstasy on the beach. I think he didn't mean to tell me that. And then the next morning he goes, did I tell you anything last night on the beach? I'm like, you sure did. He knew exactly what he said, and he was like expletive because it was kind of like the truth drug. Once he got on that, he just started telling me everything. She knows, and he knows what it all was. It is worth noting that none of these rumors were ever confirmed publicly by Stephanie McMahon. So unless she decides to talk about the matter, this should still be considered to be an unconfirmed rumor. Here's the clip.
I don't think Randy was too close with his brother. I know he wasn't. It's kind of funny right now, like how Randy's all in the spotlight after he passed, because he never was around when Randy was around. Because I see him now at some of the signings, and I'm just thinking to myself, there was actually a time because he was getting a check from WCW, actually, that Randy in his contract was making sure that Lanny was getting paid.
Right.
But Lanny was supposed to always be ready to wrestle. And when Randy would go over there, Lanny's out of shape. He doesn't care. And then Randy's like, I'm getting you a check, and you can't even go to the gym.
Now, Lanny told me before, off the record, like the true story about Randy and Stephanie McMahon. Did Randy ever tell you what happened there?
Oh, he told me. He told me one day when we were on ecstasy on the beach. I think he didn't mean to tell me that. And then the next morning he goes, "Did I tell you anything last night on the beach?" I'm like, "You sure did." He knew exactly what he said. And he was like, "Shit," you know what I mean? Because it was kind of like the truth drug.
Yeah.
Once he got on that, he just started telling me everything. So it is what it is. And, she knows, he knows what it all was.
So what does everybody make about that? So here's the thing. She seems to be truthful to me. However, if there were copious amounts of drugs involved, is it possible she's not remembering correctly? So she thinks she's telling the truth when she is not. Also, there's another wrinkle here. Here's a post by D. Jara that lays out an interesting theory. This is on a YouTube comment under the Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard podcast clip here on this subject. One theory that I think makes sense, that when during the preamble to a feud, Vampiro called out Randy in promo highlighting the age difference between him and his then partner Gorgeous George, but being Vampiro, who even called Hogan Terry, he used her real name Stephanie. Ironically, Stephanie Bellows left Randy for Doyle of the Misfits, which ended the feud between Randy and Vampiro prematurely. But people forget that there was more than one Stephanie in wrestling, and Vampiro wasn't talking about the billion-dollar princess. But that would be why the rumor got hot around the same time WWE released a Vampiro DVD, which they never paid him for. I like how they added that in parentheses. As to for why Randy never went back there are two things that I've heard. One was Bischoff, who pointed out for the first few years WCW didn't pay Randy. Slim Jim paid Randy's wages and paid WCW for using Randy. So that was a lot of money that Randy took away from Vince. Piper told a story that Hogan and Randy went to have a friendly chat with Vince about the Nacho Man and the Hickster stuff, which ended with Randy knocking Vince on his arse in a restaurant. That was why he never came back. Supposedly there were two rumors of two different fights between Randy and Vince, but anyway, this also doesn't this doesn't explain Randy's own comments on the matter about, regarding Triple H about Stephanie, which is weird. But this comment doesn't make a lot of sense, though. There's no third Stephanie. Stephanie Bellars is not Stephanie Bellows. But why is this poster stating feud Vampiro called out? Stephanie Bellows left Randy for Doyle. Okay, but that would only pertain to Vampiro. That wouldn't explain Stephanie Bellows. Well, Stephanie Bellard. There is no Stephanie Bellows. Stephanie Bellars. There is no Stephanie Bellows. So yeah, and that wouldn't explain her own comments, because obviously he wouldn't be talking about a different Stephanie with his Stephanie unless that was perfectly clear, and that's why he was so nervous about what he told her. So this comment doesn't really hold a lot of water. Other people are theorizing that... Wait, is there a date on all of this? Depending on the date, some people are saying that if Randy was screwing around, he was trying to kind of springboard off the rumor that wasn't true, and that's why he made those comments. But those comments the theory might not have been online at that time. So there is a timeline issue here. Other people are actually claiming that these rumors began in 1995, not in the early 2000s. It's also curious as to, I guess avoiding the entire issue entirely might not be a bad strategy by Stephanie McMahon. Some people say if it wasn't true, why not come out and deny it? Now, obviously, if it is true, she also wouldn't talk about it, so that doesn't really tell us anything. I mean, there's reasons for avoiding it completely as well, just to not bring attention to it, but... You know what's weird, though? Just as a comparison, you could say it's using controls or whatever. There's plenty of other rumors, I'm not going to go into them now, of other females within the pro wrestling world, valets. I mean, I guess we could bring up the name Sunny, but I'm not going to bring up any other wrestlers. A lot of the wrestlers revolving romantic entanglement, so to speak, those rumors were proven true or at least accepted as true by many parties, so-called officially. So is this a where there's smoke, there's fire situation, or is it not? I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I mean, the whole thing's kind of weird. I guess it all comes down to whether people believe Stephanie Bellar's Gorgeous George or not. I guess it would come down to that, because everything else is just kind of, I don't know, circumstantial, but there surely is a lot of circumstantial evidence. So let's look at one more article here that might shed some more information. Randy Savage broke Vince McMahon's rules by training Shane McMahon to wrestle, February 3rd, 2021. Vince, this was on ringsidenews.com, posted by Felix Upton. Vince McMahon didn't want his children becoming pro wrestlers, but it's hard to keep a McMahon out of the pro wrestling business. Shane McMahon's first pro wrestling holds were taught to him by Randy Savage, but the Macho Man was under strict instructions to not teach Shane-O anything. As Bruce Pritchard explained on Something to Wrestle With, that strict order from Vince didn't do anything to change Shane's mind when it came to his persistence. We had strict instructions, Randy Savage and I did, that under no circumstances we were to let Shane get in the ring and take bumps or anything like that. Once the ring crew got there, they would already get there early. They would set up the ring, would go work out, and then come back. Shane just so badly wanted to get in the ring, Pritchard said. Savage agreed. Yeah, brother, come on, I'll teach you things. I was the tackling dummy. I was the first one to lock up with Shane and work with him. It was a lot of fun. Shane wanted to know everything and be a part of as much as he possibly could. Shane McMahon continued receiving pro wrestling training whenever he could get it. He eventually got to have an actual match with the company that led to many more. Shane McMahon's pro wrestling journey was a long one, and he might not be fully retired from the ring even today. None of that might have been possible if it wasn't for the Macho Man bending Mr. McMahon's rules a bit to teach him. So what does this tell us? So obviously, everyone in the that's a hardcore wrestling fan. I mean, this has been talked about regarding Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, that there were strict orders and rules and instructions that Stephanie McMahon could not date pro wrestlers. Here's a clip from Howard Stern of Stephanie McMahon actually talking about breaking her dad's rules. So we have Shane McMahon and Macho Man Randy Savage proving that he's going to break Vince McMahon's rules even when he's with the company. But here's this clip of Stephanie. This was on the Howard Stern Show 2002.
How old are you now? Is that okay to ask?
Yeah, I'm 26. Actually, I just had a birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, baby. You're 26 years old, and your dad is Vince McMahon.
That's right.
And I've been saying you are the catch of the century, because any guy who marries you might as well back up the Brinks truck right into Vince McMahon's house.
I've actually heard you say that before.
Yeah.
No, I'm not single. I'm actually dating Triple H.
Yeah,
no, but you're not married.
No, I'm not married.
Okay.
Well, and what's the deal? Like, you've always been involved with the WWE. I mean, you've always...
Did you ever try to do anything else?
I never wanted to do anything else, really. Actually, I've worked for the company since I was about 12 in different ways.
What did you do at 12? Which division did you run?
I was the receptionist, actually, for about 2 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So your dad always brought you up to be in the family business, right?
Well, my dad always wanted us to have a job, and I really wanted to be in the family business. He left it up to us.
And you got what, 2 brothers?
One brother.
One brother. He's in the business too.
Yes.
And I guess when your dad retires, you guys take over the mother load, right?
Well, hopefully.
That's the plan.
I mean, he wouldn't cut you out, would he?
Oh, yeah, he could,
Is he a good dad? Is he like a nice guy to deal with?
He's a great dad.
He is?
Yeah, and very entertaining.
And if you said he wasn't a great dad, would he disown you?
No.
Do you have your own house, or do you live with your dad at his compound?
No, I have my own house.
And dating Triple H, we had China on the show. She's furious with you.
Yeah.
She said bad things about you.
I'm sure she did.
She said that you stole her man, and that Triple H now is going to be your bitch, because if this is just me paraphrasing.
Right.
If Triple H doesn't do what, Stephanie McMahon wants him to do, that'll be the end of his career. So he has to mind his P's and Q's. Is any of that true?
Well, I'm sure, certainly from her point of view, I'm the bitch of the whole scenario.
Because you stole her man.
Right.
But wasn't it easy to do because you look like a woman?
You're
not all muscular and big?
Things just sort of happened there, and, there's always a lot of sides to every story. But, definitely was a big deal for Triple H to date me because, in a way, she's right. I mean, not that my father would necessarily fire someone for doing something to me, but I'm sure it would come into play. Like if he cheated on me and I was heartbroken over it, I'm his daughter.
He'd get rid of Triple H.
We wouldn't fire him, but it wouldn't be a good situation.
You'd fire him. You'd find a way to get rid of him. Why not? Why not?
And you change their storyline. You ruin them. You can ruin them.
Yeah, you could ruin them.
You could.
So it's dangerous in a way for him to date you, isn't it?
It was a big deal. It was a really hard decision for both of us to make, more so for him, I think.
Really? But you were so attracted to him because he's very muscular and manly.
I just was attracted to him in every way.
So you're going to marry him?
Was he with China? Was that sort of an attraction? Like what kind of guy would be?
Did you think he was a freak? Because China's very freaky looking.
I actually have always thought that China was pretty incredible.
Yeah, but not beautiful.
I do think she's beautiful, but I grew up in a world of bodybuilding and.
But wait a second. Don't you think a guy who goes out with like a she-man, don't you think that he's like a fetishist?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I actually thought it was pretty cool that he didn't care what other people thought about her. I mean, he really, he was in love with her,
So so he was in love with her, but how did you get Triple H away from China?
Well, he was in love with her at one time. They were, but by the time I came around, things weren't so good.
Right.
From as I understand it.
Yes.
But they were still living together.
They were still living together, and, there's a whole lot more detail that I'm not.
What happened? She wasn't putting out?
I don't know. That I didn't even want to know. But by the time, Triple H and I started our on-screen storyline, we just sort of had great chemistry, and it just went from there.
How's it work growing up? Your dad was always a very wealthy man from from wrestling.
Actually, he wasn't always. For my childhood, mostly he was, but for my brothers, he wasn't.
Right.
Actually, when my mother was pregnant with me, my dad had to take her to the courthouse, and their car broke down, and he was actually in a tow truck to go declare bankruptcy.
Yes.
So he really is a self-made man, and really made his fortune. But
so how does it work though? Do you have to work? I mean, did your dad give you a salary?
I do get a salary. Well, I'm not only on camera, I'm also behind the scenes.
Right, I know. So you get a salary from the WWE?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were growing up, were you always like in the lap of luxury? Did your dad always give you everything you wanted?
If I really, really wanted something, yeah.
Did you go to private schools?
I did. I went to Greenwich Country Day School.
So that's a pretty good life.
Yeah. Well, and then I went to Greenwich High Public School because I hated private school.
Right. And then at any point, did you think you'd rebel and not be in the WWE?
It really never, I thought about it once or twice. When I was younger, I thought maybe I wanted to be a choreographer because I used to love to dance.
Right.
But, my knees actually got shot, so that shot that idea down. And I've always really loved our product. I have a passion for it. I've watched since I was 3 years old.
You never wanted to rebel and become like a doctor or something?
My mom almost became a doctor.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So, and does it bother you when your father gives interviews and he says he cheated on your mom?
Not anymore.
It doesn't.
It still is a little like, Dad, okay, everybody knows now. You don't have to rub it in, but...
Right. Were you angry with him?
At first, yes.
So the kind of father you can yell at and he'll take it and he'll absorb your anger?
He would, but that's not my style.
I see. So do you ever have any big fights with your father?
I have had some.
But you got to be careful. You don't want him to disown you. He is the mother lode, so to speak.
I've got my own money.
You do?
Where'd you get money from?
Yeah, where did you get money?
Well, I've been working for a while, and, I save.
So you write some of the scripts?
Yep, I help write.
Okay. And you also wrestle?
Yep, I have wrestled.
Okay.
My character is not really a wrestler per se, but I have wrestled.
But when you say you write some of the storylines, who's in that meeting? Is it you and Vince and Shane?
And a team of writers. No,
yeah?
Shane was at one time part of the creative process, and now he's been more involved in the business side.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then you write the storyline for you and Triple H.
And I wasn't writing at that point.
Okay, so you start working with him.
Right.
All right. And then how does he put the moves on the boss's daughter? Does he begin to say, listen, I'm having feelings for you? Or
he
does
was
he
very flirtatious.
He was?
Yeah.
He said, I'm attracted to you.
No, he he would drop hints, and I sort of wondered, like, is he hitting on me? And then I thought, no, it can't be. He's just, having
What would he
fun.
say to you? We'd like to know how Triple H makes the move.
I don't know. Well, our storyline was, that we were married and we took over the business and drove my dad out. And so, like, I would be sitting on his lap and things like that. And he'd just say things.
Would he pop a rod when you sat on his lap?
Stick his hand up your
Well, I didn't feel anything if he did.
He probably got a little aroused.
Right, and one time when I was standing around the ring, he sort of crawled around me. He was, on the floor and he felt my leg. And I was like, that's definitely flirtation there.
That's not part of the script.
Yeah, that was not.
And you found yourself getting attracted to him.
Yes, I did.
You didn't mind that he touched your leg.
No, I liked it a lot.
Did you say stop touching my leg, or did you say I like you touching my leg?
I just blushed like I am now, pretty much.
So many women, sometimes when they like a guy, will begin to touch a man. They'll like touch his chest when she talks to him, or maybe put her hand on his back.
It was a very touchy situation. If he was coming on to me, and I know that it's forbidden in our business for me to date any of the wrestlers.
Is it?
Yeah. So
Did you read the bylaws?
Oh.
So how does it become a romance? It's very complicated. He's dating another wrestler. Were you dating another wrestler?
No, I was dating somebody outside.
Okay, so he's dating China, who's a big star at that point.
Right, which supposedly they weren't dating at that point.
Okay.
They had a house together and were trying to get out of the house or whatever. It was
You bought that,
very
okay.
well. I mean, I did
Why not?
for a while, and then I didn't, and then we stopped. We saw each other for a couple months, and then when it came apparent to me that well, obviously she's still living in your house, something's going on. We stopped talking for a long time.
I don't see anything wrong with the fact that they're not married. They both fell for each other.
Well, yeah, but does she have to ask her father permission because it's it's against the rule?
Did you go to Vince and say, "Listen, I need the rules broken here"?
Well, he could see.
He saw what was going on.
Yeah.
Vince is no dummy.
No.
That I know.
So-
So he sees you messing around with another
And
wrestler.
he gave us the okay, and then he took it away.
He took away the okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it was just, if we really were going to be together, it would have to be a big deal. It would have to be the right thing to do. And so he let us come together, and then he made us be apart, and we came back together again. And if it was meant to be, it was meant to be.
You mean you're talking about in real life?
Yeah.
Your father said you can be together, and then said stop being together, and you stopped.
Yep.
Wow. You want to hear what China had to say on the show?
Well, no, but I guess I'm going to hear it anyway.
Yeah, hear it anyway. Here we go. Was it hard for you going to work and seeing the two of them in love, and you had to be there around them?
You know what, Howard? It broke my heart. Every day it was like a dagger in my stomach.
Are you mad at Stephanie McMahon for doing that to you?
I think that she had a real opportunity to come into a billion-dollar company and as a woman, gain some real respect and do something good in this male-dominated world. And she really disappointed me as a woman, with that type of unprofessional behavior.
If he's able to marry Stephanie McMahon, she's in a billionaire family. I mean, Vince is a
Yeah, but
billionaire.
you think he's sitting pretty, Howard?
Is he not?
Well, I don't know. If I were, none of those other guys have ever gone there, because once you rope yourself into that family, that's a 24-hour job for him now. So be very careful what you wish for.
So you're saying that if for any reason he pisses Stephanie off in real life, that's the end of his wrestling career?
He's going to be Mr. Kiss Ass from now on.
Wow. There it is. Ha ha ha, she says. What do you think of that?
Oh, she was just telling you how she felt.
Wow. You won't badmouth her.
I have no reason to.
You have the man. So who needs to even get into it? Would you fight her?
Would I fight her?
Yes.
If she picked the fight with me, sure.
You would.
You think you could take China?
I didn't say I think I could take her. but
that Joey
if she came at me,
fight.
right? If she came at me, I'd have to defend myself.
Yeah, you would defend yourself in a fight. Let's take a couple of phone calls. Tom, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, Stephanie, big fan, huge fan of the WWE for a long time. I would like to thank Stephanie, Howard, for on two different occasions, once on Raw and once on SmackDown, for gracing us, the national audience, with the sight of her beautiful breath.
Your breast.
Thank you very much.
Your breast popped.
Oh, you're welcome.
Your breast popped out during events.
They float around the internet completely uncensored.
Now, when that happens, is that really an accident, or you plan that out?
It was really an accident.
It really was. Was your
Yeah.
dad mad that your nip was
Well, no,
showing?
I mean, I was horrified, actually. Because if I had planned to do something like that, that's one thing. But when it sort of happens and you're not planning on it, it's a little unnerving.
Somebody said somewhere that you're open about the fact that you had breast implants, that
Yes.
you got them because when you were wrestling, you got to see your body a lot on TV, and you weren't happy with your body.
Right. Well, I lost a lot of weight. I had boobs, when I was heavier, and then
Right.
I lost a lot of weight, and they were like, melted packets of butter, and
Right.
I just didn't like the way they looked.
Melted packets of butter.
Yeah, actually, it's not mine. A friend of mine told me that one, but I thought it was accurate.
Double A, go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, Howard? Hey, Stephanie, I want to ask you a question. The real reason why Stone Cold left is because you used a strap-on him, and he was, like, embarrassed.
Did you use a strap-on on Stone Cold Steve Austin?
I don't know what Steve's into off camera,
Right.
but certainly we did not use a strap on.
You never got into bed with him and used a strap-on?
I didn't.
No.
You
All
know.
right, let's go to Johnny. Johnny, go ahead. You're on with Stephanie McMahon.
Stephanie McMahon, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Johnny?
I'm all right. Listen, does the name Paul ring a bell at all to you?
Paul? Why would that ring a bell to her?
Now, a buddy of mine, Paul, used to sleep with Stephanie and said that she loved to be tied up and loved anal. Big time.
Stephanie, that's a heavy accusation.
It
Even
is.
Dave Chappelle is shocked, and he's done it all.
Wow.
Howard, that's the truth, man. A good buddy of mine.
What
I
girl
would tell
doesn't like
nobody,
that?
Howard.
Is it true you like anal?
Oh, love it.
You do?
Can't get enough.
All right, so this guy's...
No. I'm open to try anything really, but
Has Triple H tried to give you anal?
I'm sure he'd like to.
He'd like to, but you won't go there.
I probably will at some point.
If Triple H got you hot enough, you would go there. So you're saying Triple H is that... Robin explains to me that women will only do anal when they're very, very hot.
Wait, hang on. Is this noise? Is this the farting or the queefing?
That's farting.
Howard, I'm telling you that's 100% true, Howard.
According
I would
to
never
your
make
buddy.
up a lie
So
like
you
that.
have tried anal with a guy named Paul?
No, Triple H is actually the first Paul I've ever dated. That's how I know that's not true.
Okay, and what about being tied up in bed? Do you like bondage?
Only tried it one time, and actually it was like completely unsuccessful. I'm sure if it was done the right way, maybe I would like it.
All
But
right, okay.
I'd have done it and stole that
You
watch.
tell me I'm full of nonsense?
She's saying that you're not telling the truth. She never dated another guy. Paul, what can I tell
Maybe
you?
your buddy's bragging.
Hey, listen, I understand. I understand. I know how it goes.
I have the
Around here,
feeling
you know
she
I
has
understand.
experimented.
I understand.
I feel she's experimented with anal. I think she's being honest.
Experimented.
Have you experimented with it at all?
I would be willing to.
You would be willing to experiment. She's saying she'd be willing to experiment.
Howard, what do you think the chances of me coming down to the studio and getting a shot at anal with her?
Right
is
now?
that at all in the works?
Right now, yes, absolutely, very good. I'm sure she'd dump Triple H for you.
Everything's in play.
Well, let me ask the question: would you give this guy anal if he came down to
Is
the
there a
studio?
shot?
would I give him anal?
Yes.
I don't know. I still got the strap on I used on Steve Austin. So
She'd
yeah.
give you anal.
Give me anal. Wait a minute. Howard, hold on, man.
This is the thing I don't understand. So you and Triple H fall in love. Does it take him a long time to get into your pants? Does he really have to prove himself to you before you give it up, or do you just get crazy right away?
Well, it took us a long time to get together.
Right. You got
So
together that
when we
first time.
finally did get together,
Was it good?
it was great.
He bangs you very good.
Oh yeah,
Hard.
when I like it hard.
Yeah. Sometimes soft.
Right.
You like it hard and soft?
I like the variation.
You do.
Yeah, you got to mix it up. You
Is he
can't
the
just
best
be-
sex you ever had?
Definitely.
Ever had sex with a woman?
I've not had sex with a woman, but I've had a woman come on to me before. Actually, at our last pay-per-view, I almost had HLA.
What's that?
Hot lesbian action.
Oh, really?
Yep, see, my guys lost a match, and I lost the bet, so I was in the ring, and these two hot chicks, one was in front of me, one was behind me. Actually, one of them does that Playboy night show,
Right.
night call show.
Yes.
So, they were starting to kiss me and rubbing my arms and rubbing my legs, and,
Did you
all
like
that
it?
kind of stuff. Yeah, I kind of liked it.
You ever go to strip clubs?
I've been to a strip club.
You ever think about like maybe getting on with another chick and bringing a chick home to Triple H
I'm sure he'd love that, but I don't know if I could handle seeing him.
with another girl?
Right.
What about you and her get it on and he just watches, sits in the corner and pleasures himself?
I think this is a chick thing, but
Yeah.
to me, it's like then he's getting off on her too. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll get there one day. I'm just not there right now.
Are you totally shaved? I
yeah.
think you are. You are. You have no hair down there.
No.
I knew it. I knew it. I love that
Do
look.
you wax or do you?
No, I don't wax. I hate waxing. I tried waxing. It's very painful.
Dave Chappelle, your wife totally shaved?
That's a secret, man.
Secret.
That's a secret.
Well, what do you think? What do you think? Someone's going to find out and something's going to happen?
No, man, I can't be talking about
Let us tell you what it is because we know.
my son came out of there. I can't be talking about it.
All right. Well, get all difficult.
I mean, you know what I'm saying. She might freak out. I gotta live with this woman. I can't be talking about her vagina on the radio.
I'm talking about myself. It's okay.
Yeah, but well, it's different. I mean, you got billions of dollars, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. You here, you can just say, hey, I got.
Well, his wife is Asian. She's probably hairless anyway.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, no, she's saying she got hairless vagina. It's easy for her to say. She's here to say it.
Yeah, right. You got to get
But
your
if
wife.
Triple
If your
H,
wife were here and
Yeah, she could
said
admit
it,
it.
then it's fine.
but yeah, if she said it, that's on her. But like, you know what I'm saying?
And Triple H and you have sex, what, 3 times a week?
Well, when we see each other.
Right. That much.
Well, I don't even count.
You seem very lovely.
Oh, thank you.
And believe me, you're a catch of the century. Absolutely.
I don't think you should marry so easily. I think you should make him work hard.
Well, we're nowhere near that, so.
Right. What kind of panties do you wear? Thong?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. You know, she's really down to earth. I gotta say, I'm impressed by this.
Yes, me too.
For a billionaire, she's really
Yeah, I've never met somebody.
You gotta
that-
qualify it, right?
Somebody rich who's down to earth and
Yeah, like-
talks about shaving and
Yeah,
panties. And
She's very articulate for someone who went to the Greenwich private school.
did you go with famous kids to the Greenwich private school?
Greenwich
I don't really remember any famous kids, except they all looked down on me because I was wrestling.
Yeah. Well.
I was going to say, is that a little problem, that you're looked down upon because of where your money comes from?
It just makes me,
Who
want to
cares?
fight, really.
Money's money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
we got our billions, honestly.
the really wealthy
you
who
didn't.
who never had to work and don't know where their money came from.
So the exact date on this is supposedly October 17th, 2002. So ironically, they got married the following year in October 2003, October 25th, 2003. 1 year, approximately 1 year, almost to the day of this interview. Now, what can be gleaned from this interview? This is actually a bizarre interview. So do we buy her story that about anything? Now, also the question is, when did these rules come into place that Stephanie's not allowed to date wrestlers? Because it's forbidden. Why? Was it because the whole Macho Man thing was real and then Vince kind of lost it and then made that forbidden rule? Or did he just come up with it randomly? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Also, are we to believe that Stephanie McMahon actually stopped seeing Triple H so Vince approved it somehow? So this all came about because of Vince and the writers in the first place? Because theoretically, if we are to believe that Stephanie was not seeing Triple H before the storyline, if we are to believe that, that means that this kind of romance developed after the storyline involving the romance. Does that really seem like something Vince would do? I don't know. That's kind of weird. The more hardcore wrestling fans can chime in here. Or is Vince more likely to develop storylines from existing issues, like the whole Matt Hardy-Lita thing, which the hardcore fans probably know all about? So, yeah, it's this whole thing is really weird. Are we to believe all of this? And if Vince McMahon so he approved the relationship, then he revoked the approval. Are we to believe that a young woman would honor the requests of her father to not see a particular guy? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird. According to her, she abided by her father's wishes, but is that really true? Or did they continue seeing each other and eventually Vince just caved or was forced to accept it in some capacity? I don't know what to make out of any of this. This is all very, very bizarre. So, I mean, it gets kind of bonkers that Dave Chappelle's just randomly sitting there. But what else does everybody think of this interview? She seemed to answer like a lot of these weird questions pretty openly. Is it kind of crazy that nobody called in with the Randy Savage question? And just to monitor her micro expressions and body language regarding that. She seemed genuinely surprised at the Stone Cold question and even played into it. I mean, I don't know. It seems that she was being kind of genuine there regarding that incredulous question. So who knows? But we will leave it at that. The MindShock listeners, the pro wrestling fans, can chime in with their thoughts, theories on this long-standing pro wrestling conspiracy. There's actually a whole bunch of pro wrestling conspiracies that we got to get into. And there's a couple of true crime pro wrestling conspiracies as well. couple different murders and such, going back through the annals of pro wrestling history. Hope everybody enjoyed another edition of the MindShock podcast. You want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube for access to exclusive streams and chats. Like and share Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys